I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. This is the Chapter 2 compilation called Small Axe, Big Country. We open at Manchester Dam, quiet tracks, early litter, and the first glint of Mum's 1992 diary she titled The Enlightenment. I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. I tell stories while my foster father and I pick up litter in places that don't always make it to the postcards. We recently published a recap episode if you'd like to see where we've been so far.
Today we're plogging the Lake Manchester Dam,
West of Brisbane, and starting to tell the next chapter of Mum's story. Manchester Dam is a quiet spot, kind of off-grid.
I don't think we're going to get onto the dam wall itself.
A dirt road in and ringed by dry woodland. Mostly hikers come here to explore the 50 or so kilometres of tracks surrounding the dam. This dam was constructed in 1916. Its original purpose was to supply drinking water to Brisbane and is still very much part of southeast Queensland's drinking water supply network. It forms one of the smaller but important components of the water grid for this part of Queensland and connects major dams across the region to ensure a reliable and flexible water supply. It's one of those places that feels like it's waiting for its next chapter, perhaps to provide water to Brisbane's growing population. People are increasingly moving to Brisbane from southern states that have recently been impacted more harshly by heat waves, fires, and floods. My foster father and I came to the dam because we figured that if people weren't going to remember places like this, that we might as well help them stay clean while they're being forgotten. We were wrong. This place isn't being forgotten, and it isn't being neglected. But that's not really what I want to talk about today. Not mostly. Because lately I've been deep in one of my mother's older journals, one of the few that's labelled. In large biro letters on the front it says 1992, The Enlightenment. And in it, I started seeing the earliest hints of what she would become. A kind of restlessness. A desire to understand the world. Not just travel it, but really get it.
Looks like someone's backpack.
Like something had snapped into place. It started by mentioning a book. She doesn't say the title, but she describes it as a philosophy course living an acute story. She writes that it was given to her by a Norwegian man she'd gotten to know, and that during his weekly visits, he was helping her learn his language so she could read it properly.
No made-up plastics. We all know there's a bit of echo here. You're an idiot! You're an idiot!
She writes, he tells me that philosophy begins not with knowing, but with wonder.
That was from the Grinch.
That wonder is what happens when we stop sleepwalking through the world. The book he gave me says, when our basic needs have been satisfied, will there still be something that everybody needs? I keep coming back to that line. There's a churning desire inside me, despite having everything I need. It's telling me that survival isn't enough. That entry hit me hard, because I've been wondering the same thing lately. I'm studying to be a teacher, but with AI getting better and Australia's education system in decline, part of me wonders whether the job I'm training for will even exist in 10 years. Or if it does, whether it'll be worth doing. By the time I graduate, will AI be better at teaching than I ever could be? After he returns home from his job as a teacher, my foster father and I often talk about that.
No accent.
He says, adult humans have been teaching little people for thousands of years, and it still feels like we're fumbling around. Teaching is perhaps the second oldest profession, yet we haven't worked it out yet. Maybe AI is the only way we'll get it right. But I don't know.
Shame we can't walk out on there.
Sometimes it feels like society is moving toward a kind of comfortable pointlessness. Like we're all going to be fed, entertained, kept warm and busy, but empty. Like animals in a zoo. Clean cages, but no wilderness, no risk, no reason.
What are you?
And in that context, I wonder whether what we're doing, picking up other people's rubbish, actually matters.
Second.
But then I think, maybe that's the point. Maybe doing small, inconvenient, hopeful things is what does matter, especially when no one's watching.
Right, let's head on down. We've got to head on down.
Maybe that's how you escape the zoo. Not with a grand gesture, but by bending over to pick up a Mentos wrapper. My mum seemed to know this before I did. A few pages later in that same journal, she wrote, "I don't want to die having only ever paid bills, having told myself over and over that I was doing okay. I want to see the world. I want to touch things that I didn't know existed. I want to read books in languages I barely speak. I want my body to remember what it feels like to be confronted by awe."
So back towards the car park.
It turns out philosophy was not the only thing that helped push her out the door
Perfect day for running in gumboots.
into a huge world. Because in the middle of that journal, on those 2 pages where the staples threatened to prick you and draw blood, was a scrawled entry dated Saturday, 29th of August, 1992.
Someone's been riding ponies.
She had just called her childhood friend, David.
A lotto ticket.
He'd told her he was selling his house, that his girlfriend Claire had gone overseas with her parents, and he was intensely envious of her getting to travel to the UK, that he'd always dreamed of travelling the world, but it had never occurred to him that he had the resources, until now, that it was finally time. Mum wrote, "When I called him, he said he was selling up and leaving, that he couldn't stand watching someone else live his lifelong dream. Said something about not wanting to be 60 and wondering what would have happened if he'd just gone." When I hung up the phone, my heart was thudding. It was like an atom had just split inside me, exploding energy and intention. I need to escape this comfort, get out of the Gold Coast and into whatever's out there.
Good morning. Good, I'm just running and picking up rubbish at the same time.
Good job.
They call it plogging.
I need a bigger life. She wrote at length about how she, like David, had the resources but hadn't previously thought about using them for something other than buying more and more meaningless stuff that only weighed her down. There's no mention of how she got those resources.
Trinity is behind me, so I'll sneak in past this side. Have a good day.
There aren't a lot of entries in her journal between that phone call in August 1992 and when she boarded her first international flight in April 93. And not long after that,
There's one. Coffee mug lid.
she was tapping on the door of a cheap hotel room in Hawaii, excited to chat about the experience with David. She wrote, "Flying was strange. The sky is so big when you're in it, and yet the world feels smaller when you land. It's a contradiction I can't stop thinking about. One second I'm in Brisbane, then I'm in Honolulu. Like I blinked and stepped through a door I couldn't sleep."
More pony tracks. Now, there's a waterway. If there's any washdown rubbish, it'll be along here, I reckon.
I kept rereading my tattered philosophy book, still struggling a little to interpret Norwegian without Eric there to help me.
No, it's a little feather.
I'm underlining the parts that resonate inside me, like where Sophie reads in a letter. And most important, how ought we to live?
That's thick.
The door opened. David stood aside to let Liz in. Claire was sitting on the bed getting ready to untie her light brown boots. It didn't go smoothly.
Anything? There's a washdown along here. We're washing that way, actually.
Mum wrote in her diary, "I went to their room, knocked. David opened the door.
I won't be able to get that. So I think I can get this.
He'd been expecting me. Then Claire saw me and yelled, 'What the hell is she doing
That's
here?'
someone else's job, unfortunately.
She grabbed her backpack, hadn't even unpacked, and stormed out. David followed,
Go back before you run out of battery, Trinity.
left his stuff on the bed, keys on the table. I sat there, wondering what I was supposed to do. I realised that he'd probably neglected to tell her I was coming. Such a typical David thing to do. Then I heard sirens, people shouting outside. Something had happened. Someone stabbed, apparently. The place filled with police. It was like stepping into a different story. A chaotic one. After reading that in Mum's diary, I went straight to Google. I found out that the victim was 44-year-old Joanna Larson-Hamink from Minnesota. A man named Brian Luton had entered her unlocked hotel room intending to rob someone. He was discovered by Joanna's daughter and husband, and somehow ended up fatally stabbing Joanna in the heart.
Let's go over the horse one.
Mum didn't know this at the time and wrote in her diary,
The ponies come over.
David came back the next morning. Looked like he hadn't slept. Said he'd followed Claire to the airport. He'd just shrugged and said, "It was on the rocks anyhow. This trip was always the other woman in our relationship. It's not your fault."
Just ran to go on 50 metres.
Then, he went out again saying that he needed a long walk to sort it out in his head. Yesterday, I asked a much older David about this. He laughed and said, "Adventure has been the other woman in all my relationships. Some women accepted that, most didn't."
I'm calling this an oasis. This is definitely an oasis. Almost no rubbish.
And that'll do for this part of the story, at least for now. If you'd like to know more about what happened before, there's that recap episode that I mentioned earlier. Or you might want to watch the previous videos in full. I suggest starting with another dam we plogged, Manchester Dam. That's where I took over this channel from my foster father. Manchester set the question, after survival, what still matters? At Beardmore, the answer begins, water, work, and Mum choosing wonder over comfort. Then a ticket to San Francisco.
Today we're plugging the EJ Beardmore Dam with the new Plog Vlog bag. Let's have a look around here.
I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to quiet places, picking up litter that's been left behind.
I've already been along here and I know there's no rubbish.
But I also tell stories, especially the kind that don't fit neatly into history books or travel blogs. Stories about my mum, Liz.
So we're going to head down in there. So that's where the people visit and that's where there'll be rubbish.
Stories that drift between memory, mystery, and meaning.
It's 5 degrees.
If you missed the last episode, here's a quick recap. Mum arrived in Honolulu, ready to chat with her childhood friend David about the start of their respective adventures. Claire stormed out. She was David's girlfriend at the time, and let's just say she wasn't thrilled when Liz stood at the door of their Honolulu hotel room. Claire yelled, "Left," and didn't come back. Mum tended to make other women insecure, sometimes intensely. That's where the last Plog Vlog left off. Now, we're at Beardmore Dam, near the town of St George in southern Queensland, roughly 500 kilometres west of Brisbane. We filmed this episode the day after my foster mother fell on a set of steps.
Let's go check out the Beardmore Dam sign.
She sliced open her knee so badly that the bone was exposed. A trip to the local hospital followed, and thankfully the doctors there were amazing. The roads out here are long and flat, littered by wayward pieces of cotton. You might call it a cotton highway. St George is one of the major cotton growing regions in Australia. It's a tricky industry, reliant on irrigation, vulnerable to climate shifts, and always negotiating the balance between economic survival and environmental strain. It's also a reminder of how much we rely on places we rarely think about.
There's my first bit.
Cotton doesn't grow on coat hangers. It grows on water, labour and land. And water out here? It matters. Beardmore Dam is part of the Border Rivers system. It was built in the 1970s to help regulate the Balonne River and supply water for farming.
There's always an energy drink. Gross.
But more than that, it's one of those places that locals depend on and outsiders barely notice. We plugged the wall of the dam and around the recreation areas. As usual, the places where people hang out had litter, but not too much this time. But something else was happening in my head. I've been back in one of my mum's early travel journals. It picks up just after that awkward hotel scene in Hawaii. After Claire flew away.
Oh, let's go do this.
After the stabbing incident that filled the hotel with sirens and police. And after her friend David returned at dawn and said, It was on the rocks anyhow. Liz had planned to stay in Hawaii for a while.
Which one? This one.
But after Claire left and things quieted down,
What, Trinity?
something shifted. She decided to join David for a little while, at least to his next stop, San Francisco.
Still got me, Trinity?
Liz was looking forward to finally hanging out the way they'd done as kids. In the journal, she writes about a bus ride they took together. Route 55. It looped around the island, through pineapple fields, along the coast, past Waimea Bay, and eventually to a place near Sacred Falls. They hiked the final stretch on foot, a winding path under dense canopy. She wrote, "We hiked for what felt like hours, though it probably wasn't."
Get a video of the Plog bag. Got to do a bit of promo, hey, Trinity?
The forest had a way of folding time. There were birds I couldn't name, vines I wanted to swing from like a cartoon. And then, suddenly, the raw, sacred falls. She described the moment of arrival in almost religious terms. It didn't feel like we discovered it. It felt like it had been waiting for us. But what really caught my attention was what she wrote next.
That's something.
At the falls, I needed to let out reflections that had been bubbling inside me for months. I told David about how wonder is the beginning of all thought.
For a seat.
That to live well, you first have to notice that you're living. I told him the waterfall was like a metaphor. It thundered and sparkled and drowned the sound of our inner noise. That was the point. To stop thinking in straight lines, to feel something. Reading that drew an image in my mind of suddenly seeing the cardboard box around me, of climbing up the inside to calmly observe its contents, carefully walking the rim to avoid falling either in or out. It also sent me Googling, because I'd heard Sacred Falls isn't open anymore.
Oh, that's something.
In May 1999, a few years after Mum visited, a rockfall killed 8 people and injured many others.
I dare you to drink that.
The park was closed permanently, and today it's illegal to hike there. The trail is considered sacred and dangerous. Rangers still patrol the area and issue hefty fines. When Mum and David had been there, it was still open to the public.
I could barely see that in the light.
But I couldn't stop thinking about that contrast, their moment of wonder, followed by tragedy years later. Would Liz have seen a metaphor in that? During that trip around Honolulu in 1993, I think that was the first time Mum really introduced David to her new way of seeing things. Not just as a tourist, but as a thinker, a feeler, someone who wanted to find the pulse of meaning inside the noise, a person carrying a tattered philosophy book. Lately, I've been thinking about education. Perhaps, like Sacred Falls, it soon won't be a place for humans. I've been studying to become a teacher.
A rock.
But with AI threatening to automate everything from lesson plans to tutoring, I keep wondering, will there be anything left for humans to teach? My foster father said, "The best teachers never just deliver content.
And up and over.
They deliver connection." But connection doesn't scale well. AI does. And that's what keeps me up some nights.
No access. That sucks.
Will human teachers be superseded before I've even paid off my university debt? If jobs like teaching are taken from us, perhaps small acts, like picking up litter or asking what a waterfall represents, might be the very things that tether us to our humanity. I think that's what Mum was getting at. She wasn't trying to teach David philosophy like a course. She was giving him something more primal. Wonder. She'd felt it when she read that Norwegian book, the one Eric gave her, back when she was still living quietly on the Gold Coast. She'd even learned Norwegian just to read it properly. She'd underlined, "When our basic needs have been satisfied,
For drinking.
will there still be something that everybody needs?" And she'd sought an answer by getting on a plane. After that bus trip with David, Liz wrote, "I was supposed to stay in Hawaii for a while, but then he asked if I wanted to come with him to San Francisco. I didn't hesitate. I need to see what else wonder can look like." And just like that, a journey began.
Quality too.
As for Beardmore Dam, it's still here, quiet, resilient, a place people forget until they need water. Or until someone like us shows up, picking through the edges, trying to make it a little cleaner than we found it. That'll do for now. If you want the full story, Claire, the stabbing, the fallout, it's all in the last Plog vlog episode. And if you ever find yourself near St. George,
Cigarette butt.
keep an eye out for cotton on the wind.
No butts.
It travels further than you'd expect. From cotton roads and regulated rivers to red earth sky country, Cunnamulla. But our story detours to a San Francisco street corner where Liz tests courage and stumbles.
Windscreen's frozen.
Ice, baby.
I'm busting over 12. Hello, Corellis. Good morning.
I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to remarkable places. He picks up litter and I tell stories. But these videos aren't just about rubbish. They're about the people, the places, and the past that shape the present.
This morning, we're plugging the Cunnamulla Historic Station.
And sometimes they're about my mum. Today, we're in Cunnamulla. Remote, red-earthed, fenced by sky. But our story won't stay here long. It begins in San Francisco in 1993.
Lost on the ground. It's frozen. It's 3 degrees, would you believe?
With a street corner, a hotel window, and one of the first signs that my mum was spiralling. I came to live with my foster parents after my mum died of liver disease during the pandemic. What was meant to be one night on their couch turned into everything. A second chance, a quiet landing. They gave me room to heal, but also space to grow.
All aboard!
And somewhere along the way, I started reading Mum's old diaries, trying to piece together who she was, why she made the choices she did, and what that meant for me. These Plog vlog videos, they started as a way to clean up the world, but now they feel like a tribute, a way to honour her life, not just mourn it. We'll loop back to San Francisco in a minute, but let me tell you a little about where we are now. Cunnamulla sits on the Warrego River, deep in southwest Queensland. Its name comes from the Kunja language, meaning long stretch of water. It was once a major rail town, a connection point between remote sheep stations and the rest of the world.
Let's go this way, Trinity.
In the late 1800s, the railway here transformed life in the outback. Wool, cattle, even people could finally move with speed and purpose. The town boomed for a while, but like so many rural places, automation and economic shifts chipped away at its heart. Today, Cunnamulla feels like it's waiting. For rain, for visitors, for a second chance. But not everything here is still. On the road in, we passed feral goats darting across the bitumen, curious emus striding through brush like confident supermodels, and even a feral cat creeping toward a kangaroo carcass.
Oh, no, it's going for that kangaroo up there. Hello, feral cat. What you doing, feral cat? You look like a bloody tiger.
Life here is wild, raw, honest.
There's a little bit.
In 1993, my mum Liz and her childhood friend David met up again in Hawaii after years apart. They'd known each other since they were 9. Reconnecting there, they decided to travel together. That story was in the last episode, if you missed it. From Hawaii, they flew to San Francisco. They booked a cheap third-story hotel room that overlooked a street corner. Liz wrote about it in her diary, just one line. Talked with the women on the corner tonight. They reminded me of home, oddly.
More broken bottle?
That was it. No detail, no explanation. But I wanted to know more, so I asked David. He was reluctant at first, not wanting to make this story his. But then he softened, and the memories started pouring out. They'd arrived in the afternoon. The street felt overwhelming. David had never seen homelessness before, never seen people begging or women working a corner.
Hey, gorillas. Lots of you.
He felt out of his depth, culture shock in real time. As dusk fell, Liz watched the women below, the way they held space, the way they claimed it. She turned to David and said, "I want to go talk to them."
Let's walk the line.
David offered to come too, said something about safety, just in case, but Liz just shook her head. "They won't talk if you're there. They'll think you're a cop, a punter, or some kind of missionary." That stung a bit, I think, but she wasn't wrong. Liz had a way of reading people like open books, was trying to turn those books into journalism, wanted to be an independent reporter. I guess this was field work in her eyes.
It's a bit.
David watched from the window as she approached the women, talked to them, laughed, listened. He told me he could hear the rhythm of their conversation even 3 stories up. Its peaks and troughs, like waves against the concrete. Eventually, his eyelids grew heavy. Jet lag, emotional overload, the sense of not being able to protect her. He fell asleep by the window. When he woke, she was curled near the door, her hair matted with vomit. She reeked of alcohol.
Kangaroo.
He didn't wake her, just lifted her onto the unused bed and went out to explore the city, to build his own confidence.
Get in. We need some wire around the outside of this or something to hold it open.
David told me that Liz had translated aloud some of her tattered little philosophy book as they'd flown from Hawaii to the mainland the day before. The chapter they were on was about myths, how ancient people made sense of the world through gods and
as
monsters.
Always, our least favourite thing, styrofoam.
Every natural force had a name, a personality, a vendetta. David remembers one line in particular. Before there was philosophy, there were myths to explain everything. This older, travel-worn David
Oh, drugs.
said he'd recently started wondering whether we're building new gods and monsters in the form of competing AIs, algorithms as oracles, agents as prophets, compute and electricity the new offerings at the altar. And then he laughed. "Maybe it'll be like Highlander," he said. "They'll battle. And in the end, there can only be one." Liz didn't talk much the next day, and she didn't write about what the women said to her. I wish she had. But maybe some truths are too raw for the page. Or maybe she was too drunk to remember. What I do know is that night left a mark on both of them. Liz because it hinted at a kind of connection she craved but couldn't sustain. David because it shattered some illusions.
Inside water. All the people on the bus are waving to me.
He'd grown up rough but sheltered, privileged despite poverty, swaddled by bushland from the grittiness of the city. That trip opened him, hardened him too. He told me later that by the time they reached Africa, he wasn't the same person.
Wow, look at these.
The world had rubbed off some of his naivety, but also given him depth and empathy.
Is that a straw? No, straw.
Something about Liz's confidence that night amazes me. She walked into a space that wasn't hers and held her own. I've been thinking about that lately, how women navigate power, how education and independence are changing us, making us freer, but also lonelier sometimes. Mum used to write that she didn't want to be dependent on anyone, not a man, not a job, not a system. And yet, she kept getting trapped by her own choices, especially when it came to men. I wonder if that's why she drank, or if it's why I've kept my distance from relationships too. Here in Cunnamulla, the quiet feels old, ancient. The train doesn't run anymore. The town's population is shrinking. A lot of the young people leave. The rest stay and take comfort in each bright orange dawn. It's easy to look at a place like this and think it's stuck.
What are they? Oh, melons.
But it's not. It's adapting, just slowly. Same with us, I think.
Oh no, it's an egg.
We're all trying to adapt to a world that's spinning faster every year. AI is replacing jobs, including the kind I'm studying for. Teaching. Sometimes I wonder if I'm training for extinction. David says it's not that bleak.
Customers and visitors car park, so I can come down here.
He says people like us will always find new ways to teach, to connect. But what if he's wrong?
Oh, look at that.
What if humans become like animals in zoos, fed, entertained, but slowly forgetting how to live? Mum's diary had this quote underlined twice. Don't you think it's astonishing to be alive? I wonder, will it still be astonishing to be alive if we trade purpose for comfort? Life doesn't feel astonishing when I catch myself scrolling endlessly. Cunnamulla sunrises are astonishing and alive. Maybe that's why I keep making these videos. Picking up rubbish feels ridiculous sometimes,
You're going pretty well, Trinity.
but also sacred. It's the modern version of hunting and gathering. It's proof we still know how to move, to care, to leave things better than we found them. Mum once wrote, "Survival isn't enough." She was right. Cunnamulla, San Francisco. 2 places worlds apart, but both stitched into our story now. Thanks for following this journey.
There's a bottle.
If you want to understand Liz better, or me, really, keep watching. These stories aren't polished, but they're real, and maybe that's enough.
I dare you to come out here. That's so lame. In fact, I double dare you to come out here. That is so gross.
Quick note, those yellow closed captions we've been using for ages, we stopped using them after Cunnamulla. People told us they pulled eyes from the landscapes, so we gave that space back to country. Now, Angellala, an explosion site that asks what happens when the man-made and natural collide.
And we'll make a start.
I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to remarkable places. He picks up litter, and I tell stories. We're out near Angellala Creek today, just south of Charleville in Queensland.
There's that person of rubbish.
You probably haven't heard of it, unless you remember the headlines from 2014. 2 trucks collided on this quiet stretch of highway.
Most powerful explosion in Australian transport history, apparently.
One was carrying ammonium nitrate. The explosion was immense.
Let's go check it out. The bridge is on the other side here.
Craters, flames, shockwaves felt over 30 kilometres away. The bridge was torn in half like paper, and yet, miraculously, no one was killed. These days, the road's been rebuilt, but the scars remain. Twisted concrete, a faded warning sign, a patch of dirt where even the flies seem louder. And they are loud, buzzing like something's just died, even when nothing has. We passed a convoy of grey nomads on our way in. For those who don't know, that's the name Australians give to retired travellers who roam the country in caravans. They tend to chase warmth in winter and adventure in summer. I like that. This idea that the end of one life stage could mark the beginning of another. Not everyone gets that luxury. And not all journeys are planned. Lately, I've been sorting through more of my mother's old diaries. This one's dated May 1993. She and her childhood friend David had taken a Greyhound bus from San Francisco to Los Angeles. 11 hours overnight. There's an entry in there about a pair of American twins. Blonde, about
The plastic?
21.
That's a rock.
The kind of twins
Volcanic rock.
movies cast when they're trying to sell you gum or denim or toothpaste. Liz wrote, I took an immediate liking to the brother. His accent curled like honey around the edges of words.
Wonder if anything washed down in the flood. It'd wash up against this fence, I reckon.
The sister had a smile that could cause car crashes. So, I offered to swap seats, putting her next to David and me beside the brother.
Anything?
I expected sparks on both sides, but David just tipped his hat, said hi, and pulled it down over his eyes like some weary cowboy. Later at the LA terminal, I asked why he hadn't even tried. He said, "I'm here for adventure, not romance."
Do I fly?
Besides, she probably just thought I was some Crocodile Dundee fantasy. Mum must have watched the twins intently.
Okay, let's go up to the tunnel. To the tunnel of love.
She noticed how the sister tucked her long legs up on the seat, like she was settling for a picnic beside a stream,
There are flies everywhere.
and how the brother kept checking on her,
So many flies.
as if he'd never seen her ignored by a man before.
Get closer to the road. I reckon there's more chance of rubbish near the road.
He seemed more concerned about it than she did. Liz had a way of seeing things like that, sometimes too clearly. She'd notice everything in other people and still miss what she needed herself. David later told me the comment about Crocodile Dundee wasn't meant to be cold. He was just stating a fact, just a truth.
Wow, look at that.
Adventure always trumped romance. They rolled into LA, and Liz wrote that the city felt like a pressure cooker. The smog choked the skyline. The mountains were barely visible through the haze. The air itself felt heavy.
Let's go over near the road now.
Neither of them had experienced that before.
That's what went boom.
It wasn't just the pollution. The city was still holding its breath after the riots a year earlier. Rodney King's name hadn't faded. The streets had a pulse, like something waiting to ignite again. Liz called it a city of neon ghosts, bright, hollow, flickering. They decided to leave straight away, catch the next Greyhound towards the Grand Canyon. While they waited, Liz read from her book on the natural philosophers, getting better at translating from Norwegian to English for David. Can something come from nothing? Can water turn into wine? These tied into something my foster father said recently when we were talking about this very spot, Angellala Creek. He said that the explosion here wasn't just a tragic accident. It was also a lesson in what happens when the natural world and the man-made world collide. A kind of alchemical mixing of matter and instances. 2 trucks, one full of fuel, one full of ammonium nitrate.
I want to go back through this way.
Both entirely safe until one wrong moment. Then physics takes over. Chemistry plays its part. And boom. That's how the natural philosophers thought too, except they didn't have chemistry textbooks. Just questions. How does fire happen?
I'm really surprised you still got me, Trinity.
Why do things fall? What is the world made of? Liz explained it all to David. How early thinkers believed everything was water or air or some mysterious substance called a pyron. She found it beautiful. That people once tried to understand the world
Here's some
not
more.
through gods, but through nature itself.
Mowed up plastic.
And now we understand the chemistry of explosions. We know why ammonium nitrate is stable until it isn't. We know how heat and shock waves propagate.
Oh, look at this one.
But somehow, knowing more hasn't made us wiser. Because just like at Angellala, society feels like it's carrying its own volatile
It's gonna
mix.
take up like the whole room.
Technology, disconnection,
There you go.
consumption, fear, one bump too many,
Oh, what are you?
and something gives. That's what Liz feared about cities like LA,
I'd say that's a goat's jaw, I would say.
that they were built on a kind of
Build a bit.
compressed mythology.
What we got here?
The dream of fame, of reinvention, of eternal youth. But underneath, tension. She felt that tension in herself too. She wrote about it in earlier diaries, the fear of disappearing into other people's dreams, of chasing something and finding out it was just smoke. I think that's part of why she liked those natural philosophers. They weren't chasing illusions, they were looking for substance. And now, I'm doing the same. Watching the world through this lens she left behind. The world is very different now. In previous episodes, I've pondered about whether we risk becoming like zoo animals, fed, entertained, and numb. But a much older David has suggested a different metaphor. He said, "I don't think society's really like a zoo. I think it's more like a circus. People don't just get fed, they perform. Tricks for clicks, clever routines for dollars, but they've forgotten their habitat. Some don't even know it exists, and some are terrified to go back." He looked out at the horizon then, wide and empty and real, and said, "But every now and then, one escapes into the wild. And you can almost see it, the senses waking up, the body remembering." Maybe that's what my foster father and I are doing, in our own quiet way, collecting rubbish in forgotten places, reawakening purpose through care, picking up the pieces, not just of litter, but of story, memory, land. And yes, battling flies. I don't know what it is about creek beds in Western Queensland, but the flies here don't quit. Maybe it's moisture. Maybe it's something dead upstream. Maybe they just know we're intruding. But even that, being here, feeling them, swatting them away, it reminds me I'm alive. So thank you for being here, for watching, for staying curious. If you want to hear more of Liz's story, or David's, or mine, stick around. The world might be changing, but the questions are still worth asking. LA's pressure and greyhound miles yield a different question. Who gets to tell the story? In Augathella, old David reads his blog post called The Travelling Storyteller, and creation becomes purpose.
Augathella, RV-friendly town.
I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to remote places.
You still got me, Trinity?
He picks up litter and I do the rest. Today we're in Augathella, Queensland. A town that barely ripples the map, but stands tall with oversized murals and a meat ant sculpture that might just be bigger than you. The skies here stretch forever.
Let's check out down here. Here's a bit.
The earth's dry, cracked like an old book left too long in the sun.
Ha! Tin can.
But today's story isn't about dust or ants, or even plogging. I'd actually planned to tell you what happened when Liz and David reached the Grand Canyon in 1993, about what they saw.
Don't have to worry about glass.
And what they didn't, about the American serial killer they crossed paths with, unknowingly.
Oh, what are you? Huh? It's a dead kangaroo, but it's got this in it.
That story is coming. But something else happened first. We were watching a video by Yuval Noah Harari. You might have heard of his books, Sapiens and Homo Deus. This talk was about how AI might soon replace writers like him. And something about that hit a nerve. It wasn't really fear. It was curiosity. A question I didn't know how to ask.
Oh, there's more of that. Someone's chewed up jumper.
Old David saw my face and knew. He said, "You look like someone who just realized the world might stop needing campfires." The phone went quiet.
There's the bottle.
And after a while, he said he had a USB backup of his old blog posts, and he'd email me one to read aloud. "No,"
That's what I wanted.
he said.
There's a bit more.
"Actually, let me read this one."
And some more.
He emailed me a voice file.
When I grow up, I want to be a travelling storyteller. I'd walk from village to village, in winter or at night, to avoid the heat. Locals would let me know the safest places to hunker down during the dust and lightning storms, because they'd look forward to my visits. Around a communal solar cooker, I'd regale them with recollections of the old world, recounting a time when nature was more beautiful, but people preferred to be inside. Children would marvel at words describing the old Serengeti, Himalayas and Ecuadorian rainforests, the old people entranced by almost forgotten memories. They'd pay me with bowls of food, perhaps the occasional knick-knack. I'd always sneak these trinkets back to the kids as rewards during the literacy, maths and science lessons I'd do while I was in the village. I'd have no need for these little things. They'd only weigh me down during my long walks, perhaps making a noise that could scare off kangaroos I was photographing. I'd leave each village with encouraging words about how the new world will become better than the old one, a final wave as I walked past the little solar water treatment plant and then off into the setting sun. One day I wouldn't turn up to a village that expected me. They'd search and find me dead of a heart attack under a red full moon, move me off the track to a place for the wild pigs, and miss my stories. Yes, I want to grow up to be a travelling storyteller. Besides, it's not that much different from what I do now.
So look over here. Anything down this drain?
It's as if he was remembering something that hadn't happened
Nothing
yet.
down there?
And it made me
Let's
think
check over here.
about this project, about Liz's diaries, about why I keep doing
It
this
does.
even when it feels like no one's watching. And maybe that's the point. Maybe some of us are born to tell stories, not because the world needs them, but because we do.
That could be the end of our shot. That's a nice shot. That would have been once been a windmill. That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
I asked my foster father, because he studied this stuff at university, whether it's possible that some people need to create to feel whole. He smiled and started reeling off theories like a vending machine of existential psychology. He said, self-determination theory says we need autonomy, competence, and relatedness. For creators, making something new gives them autonomy and a sense of mastery. It's how they know they're alive.
That's cool.
He reminded me of something Maslow said. A musician must make music. An artist must paint. If he is to be ultimately at peace with himself. I wrote that down.
Well, let's go on down.
Then he added, Frankl believed that the drive to find meaning is at the core of human motivation. For some, creating is that meaning. When denied that, they fall into what he called the existential vacuum. And I realized something. Editing these videos,
The moon up there.
writing these scripts, reading my mother's words aloud. They've done something to me. They've tethered me. Not just to Mum, but to myself. Before this, I was drifting. I used to write fan fiction, long complicated arcs where I could disappear into someone else's world, but it wasn't enough. Mum wrote to help hold life together. Her diaries weren't tidy, they weren't planned. But they were her way of staying sane, of making sense of what the world had done to her, and what she kept doing to herself.
I'm wearing my gumboots.
Me? I edit plogging videos. That's my form of stitching. My foster father told me one more thing. He said, some people have what psychologists call a creative identity. It's not just what they do, it's who they are. If they're not creating, they feel like they're not existing. That clicked something into place. He said there's even research on it. The Big Five traits, Jungian archetypes, Csikszentmihalyi's flow theory, all suggesting that some people are wired to make. And when they're forced into passive roles, just consuming, scrolling, existing, they shrink inside. He said, maybe people like that don't care how big the audience is.
Sock.
Maybe it's just the telling that keeps them alive. Out here in Augathella, the silence feels ancient. Even at peak tourist season, it's quiet.
Giant meat ant, huh?
Just the crunch of boots, the rustle
There's
of
a bit.
wind, and the occasional grey nomad passing by, hauling a caravan with a pension-draining four-wheel drive. My foster father, he's the one doing the plogging, kept looking off toward the plains like something might return from them. Or maybe he is longing to return to them. Augathella was once a drover's town. There's a mural here of a massive bullock team, a reminder of when people moved slow enough to hear their own stories. The ant sculpture is huge. Kids love it. Tourists take photos, trying to climb to touch
Hey,
it.
going. Excuse me, I'm just picking up rubbish.
But I just kept thinking,
I film myself picking up rubbish to encourage others.
ants build, grain by grain.
There's enough of it. Although this town is pretty good.
They tidy, they tend.
Yeah, you live here?
They make sense of mess.
Yeah, I sort of travel from place to place and
Maybe we're not that
film
different.
myself doing this. Yeah, I keep the camera facing this way so I don't film kids.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm a school teacher, so that's what I hope, yeah. There's my wife just there. She's a school teacher too.
I've gone back to sorting Mum's journals, dozens of them. Handwriting shifting with time and mood. I've been reading one that she wrote during their US trip.
Hello, galas.
I'd planned to read you the section about the Grand Canyon today. About a serial killer whose work they hoped to not stumble upon. About the news story that came weeks later. That'll wait. Today, there was another story to
Wonder
tell.
if people have dropped rubbish near the sign. Great Artesian Basin.
About a travelling storyteller who might one day become reality. Maybe he already is. Here's what I've realised. Maybe we're not telling stories because people need them. Maybe we're telling stories because we need to.
There's some.
Because it keeps us human in a world trying to automate everything. Because if AI can generate perfect narratives,
Oh, there you go.
maybe what makes ours meaningful isn't perfection,
Right out now, Trinity.
but presence, struggle, silence, the stutter in the edit.
There we go.
We're not producing content,
There we go.
we're remembering.
Let's do the other side of the road.
Remembering that being alive doesn't always feel
Yeah.
like a story
Down along the drain.
until someone bothers to tell it. Next time, I'll get back to Mum's story,
What are you?
to that canyon, to that killer,
I don't know what that is.
to the moment she started seeing the world not as a series of places to visit,
Oh, that's a bit.
but as a puzzle to decode.
My girl.
It's one of the most haunting diary entries I've read so far. So if you've been following our journey, this tapestry of places, people, and plastic, I hope you'll keep walking with us. This has been Augathella.
Oh, there we go. Hanky.
This is where we plogged
Don't
today.
do that often.
And this is the story we told. See you in the next one.
She wakes with the sunrise, coffee on the stove, bare feet on the front porch, watching the wind blow. Old jeans and her flannel, and hair tied in a braid. She's got dust on her boots, but her dreams never fade. She's a country girl, wild and free, with a heart as wide as the
From ants and silence to metal and play, Roma's open-air gallery. Among welded shapes, Liz's margin notes return. Grand Canyon and a killer, and a present-day story about bodies and seeing kindly.
I think we might go a different way. What do you reckon? Reverse up like the horse is. Reverse.
I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to unique places. He picks up litter, and I tell stories. Sometimes they're about where we are. Sometimes they're about my mother.
That's why there's shit on the road.
Art's for art's sake.
And sometimes they're about now.
Money for God's sake.
Today we're in Roma, Queensland, home of the big rig,
Oh, looks like dog poo.
cattle sales,
Let's go film Roma's art, huh?
and a whole lot of wide open space.
Oh, the dog poo's fallen out. That worked well.
But we're not here for cows. We're here for sculptures. Every year, Roma hosts Sculptures Out Back. Artists from across Australia, sometimes even further, install their work in this paddock-turned gallery. Creatures built from scrap metal, abstract shapes welded from agricultural offcuts, whimsical silhouettes rising like mirages from the red earth.
How you going? I'll keep away from you. I'm just filming myself picking up rubbish.
It's open air. It's free. It's quietly beautiful. It's also just a little littered, Not by the artists, but by people who forget that beauty deserves care. That's why we're here, to plog, to collect, and to tell a story. Because while we were filming these sculptures, some playful, some eerie, I kept thinking about a cliff. Not here, but in Arizona. And not now, but in 1993.
We should plog around the outside, round the outside, round the outside, rather than through the middle.
I've been reading another of Mum's travel diaries. This one is from May in 93. She and her childhood friend David had taken a Greyhound bus from Los Angeles to Flagstaff, then joined a tourist shuttle to the Grand Canyon. Mum wrote, "Our driver stopped near a plaque about the 1956 mid-air crash, the one that changed aviation forever. He told us how 2 planes collided over the canyon and how that tragedy led to the creation of the FAA. He said that sometimes big disasters force change." Liz had lived through both disaster and change. Then he told them something else. A woman had fallen into the canyon recently. Her husband had been taking a photo, told her to take a step back.
We film picking up rubbish to encourage other people.
Just one step. Her body hadn't been recovered.
Thank you.
He said it like a warning. Or a lesson.
Plog vlog. Have a good one.
At the time, that's all Liz wrote.
YouTube.
But later, in different ink,
Plog vlog. Awesome. Thank you.
she added a note in the margin. Robert Spangler. Donna Sundling. 40-metre fall. Not an accident. The woman hadn't been lost to a misstep. She'd been murdered, pushed by her husband, Robert Spangler. At the time, he walked away. The truth came out years later.
That doesn't look healthy.
Something about that truth must have lodged deep enough for Liz to come back, find the page and write his name down, as if she needed to mark it. I've been thinking about that.
Oh, there's an emu up here. Let's race up the hill. Styrofoam. Let's get the styrofoam.
About the stories we believe in the moment.
We get this plastic.
And the ones we only recognise for what they are much
That
later.
plastic. No, it's timber. And this foam. And then we'll head up the hill.
Sometimes the real story doesn't change the past, but it does change the way you carry it. There's another story I want to tell. It's not from the past. It's now. A few weeks ago, I realised I hadn't heard from my friend Crystal in a while. That's not like her. We message most days.
Oh,
Silly memes,
we come up with the balls.
voice notes, little lifelines. Then I found out she was in hospital, a life-threatening condition. I won't share the details, those are hers, but I visited.
Check this out. Ding dong.
I gotta have more cowbell, baby.
She was quiet, pale, holding her phone like it weighed more than she did. She asked if I could talk about it here, so here I am.
Let's go down this way. So don't get in anyone's face. Oh, more over here.
Crystal lives with body image dysmorphia. It's more than disliking your reflection.
There's a bit.
It's an obsession, where the mirror becomes a trap, where your mind locks onto flaws no one else sees, where the need to change or disappear starts to feel like survival. It doesn't always show on the outside, but it can hollow you out from within. And it nearly took her life. When I got home, my foster father asked how I was. I said something glib, something like, "I've got a normal level of body dissatisfaction." He raised an eyebrow and said nothing. Later I wondered what normal even means. If most women feel unhappy in their bodies, is that normal or just broken? Trying to understand, I asked old David if my mother ever struggled with body image. His answer surprised me. He said, "Not until Nepal. Not until 1996. Just before they flew there together, Liz had met David's new girlfriend, a blonde, confident fitness instructor, unbothered by Liz's beauty or her closeness with him. And for the first time, Liz felt unsure. She told me it was the first time she'd ever felt insecure around another woman. David said, and the first time she'd had a crush on one. He laughed and added, "I told Liz she couldn't have her." That moment stuck with me, because it's so human. Liz, the bold one, the woman who walked unafraid into street corners in San Francisco, who read Norwegian philosophy aloud on planes, whose beauty caused David's fiancée Claire to storm out in Hawaii.
Oh, we can get all the way around and get that rubbish.
Even she compared. Back here in Roma, I kept looking at the sculptures. Some rough, welded from rust and wire. Others polished and gleaming. None of them perfect, all of them worth seeing. And I started to wonder, what if we saw ourselves more like sculptures? Not finished, not flawless, but expressive, shaped by time, memory, experience. My foster father says body image dysmorphia isn't just personal, it's social. It thrives in a culture of comparison.
Doctor Who. Doctor Who.
In algorithms that push a single version of beauty. In filters that erase the lines that make us real. He says, there's research showing that idealized images, especially on social media, distort our mental body maps. We start to see ourselves through warped glass without knowing the glass is warped. We think we're rational, but evolution didn't build us for mirrors. It built us to see each other in motion, in context, not frozen into pixels and poses. And he said one more thing. Meaning doesn't come from matching a standard. It comes from breaking one. Liz never wrote directly about body image.
Roma's eastern in the country.
But in her Nepal diary she wrote, "I used to think I was pretty because people told me so. But lately, I've started wondering what beauty means if it always depends on someone else's gaze." And below it, I felt invisible next to her, and yet free. Maybe not being seen is its own kind of liberation. I don't know exactly what she meant, but I feel it, and I suspect she was writing about more than appearance. Maybe about the relief of stepping outside constant judgment.
I won't cross over because I'm not supposed to, but I want to get it. I want to get it. Let's get this one. Road train.
I've always said I stay off camera for safety reasons, and that's still true. But there's another reason. Comfort. Freedom from wondering if my face is symmetrical, if my arms look strong or soft, if my body fits someone
Here's a bit.
else's definition of acceptable. There's freedom in voice, in words, in not performing. But I know invisibility can become its own trap, that sometimes we need to be seen, heard, valued.
Okay, Trinity. That'll do. You did a good job.
My foster father can be on camera. He doesn't care what people think. Sometimes I wish I was like that. Among the sculptures today, tourists wandered, their chatter drowned out by screeching corellas. And somewhere closer by, a couple laughed quietly, trying to make sense of an out-of-place TARDIS. My foster father picked up the shredded plastic chocolate wrappers left by the mower. I followed with the camera, not self-conscious, my shadow not caring. And I thought, plogging isn't about appearance, it's about presence, about doing something, picking up what others leave behind, holding space for stories that matter, and maybe for people who matter too. Crystal's home now, resting, healing. Last night she sent me a meme, something about jellyfish and resilience. I sent her a photo of a metal bull's butt winking at us with a huge pair of dangling cowbells. No caption, just understanding. This is Roma. This is where we plogged today. And this is the story we told. See you in the next one. Roads unspool. Team sedentary meets team can't sit still. Between soldier settlements and memorials, we learn that pace is personal. And kindness sometimes looks like towing uphill. I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to all sorts of places. He picks up litter and I tell the stories. Today's a little different though. This is my first ever road trip video. If it's a bit clunky, please be forgiving. We're leaving Roma, where the last episode was filmed, and heading for Carnarvon Gorge. You might spot my foster mother in the background now and then, still limping from the knee injury she got at Beardmore Dam in St. George. That episode was about how my mum's philosophy on wonder began to change her life. First stop is not far ahead. Hopefully I don't get us lost before we even start. Only 46 kilometres to go before our first stop. Plenty of time for me to figure out if this road trip thing is actually my thing.
How's I going to do this?
You know, I'm still surprised these videos are starting to get a small, dedicated audience. I only ever planned to make them for Chloe, Morgan, and Crystal.
What was this? Some sort of station or something?
Crystal told me the last episode actually helped her through part of her recovery. Hearing that has made me even more determined to tell stories that might help others too.
Oh, I can get in.
This place, Cunnamulla, was part of a soldier settlement after the First World War. Returned servicemen were given land here to farm, though the soil and conditions were often brutal. There's also the old rail siding, a reminder of when this was a key link in moving produce and people. Speaking of tough terrain, Mum wrote about walking into the Grand Canyon in 1993 with her childhood friend David. She described the descent in bright detail, the switchbacks, the red cliffs glowing like embers, the Colorado River glinting far below. They reached the bottom without a problem. The trouble came later.
There we go. Oreos. There's Oreos, Trinity. You right over there in the shade?
From here, it's about 75 kilometres north to our next stop. And just like that canyon trail, it's all uphill from here. At least for Liz.
Let's see what we can find, Trinity. You still got me? So the old engine mine, huh?
The old Injune mine was once part of Queensland's early oil shale industry. Small scale, labour intensive, and eventually abandoned when economics and distance made it unviable. On that Grand Canyon trip, the climb back up was proving just as unviable for Mum. Halfway, she began to flag. David noticed her slowing, leaning on trees, pausing in every patch of shade.
Who's this? Rex Laycock. Is it 1934 to 2014?
Some people, like my foster father,
This looks like...
seem naturally
like coal.
active.
So you found some rubbish over there somewhere.
Others, like me, don't like physical activity. It's got me wondering, are we active or sedentary because of nature
Not bad if that's the only thing here.
or nurture,
Especially considering there's no bin.
genetics or environment? I'm definitely on team sedentary.
Oh, it's for the tissues and stuff.
I'm not chasing my foster father up hills unless absolutely necessary.
Probably toilet paper. I'm probably putting toilet paper in here.
These days, I often just park myself in one shady spot while he plogs around me. Works for both of us.
And Trinity, there's an egg carton. You right standing up on that log? Don't fall down.
Only 5 minutes up the road this time. Close enough for me to pretend I've warmed up rather than just sat still.
Let's plug around the Indian community gym.
Yes. We've stopped at a gym on a road trip. This could be the most ironic location yet. Back to the Grand Canyon.
Right up there, Trinity?
This was the point where David improvised. He found a sturdy stick, held the front, and had Mum grab the back.
Saw a bit down here.
Then he towed her up the trail, switchback by switchback. Somewhere along the way, she spotted a squirrel, and later a donkey, both apparently important enough to note in her diary. When I asked old David if she was an active person, he just laughed. The kind of laugh that says more than words ever could.
This Slim Dusty? No. Waverly Jackson, apparently.
70 kilometres to our next stop. And apparently to an answer I may not actually want to hear.
Right, Trinity. You stay up there, avoid snakes. I'll get this.
Crossing into the Capricorn region feels like stepping into a new biome.
We'll get our first bottle in the Capricorn region, huh?
My foster father calls it changing chapters in the book.
This bottle.
On the phone, as we drove, old David eventually explained his laugh.
The Coke bottle.
He said the differences between him and Liz became obvious when they travelled. In Nepal, she trailed behind on hikes, tried to avoid the whitewater rafting.
What are you?
I'm starting to think I've inherited that pace.
Some sort of, maybe coolness or something. Now that is beautiful. Look at this.
About 65 kilometres to go. And our next stop has a story with a much heavier ending. Ruin Remount Station once trained horses for the army, especially during World War II. Today, it's quiet, a scatter of old buildings and wind-swept paddocks. Nearby is the memorial for the 1943 air crash that claimed the lives of 20 servicemen. Their plane went down in poor weather, and this lonely stretch of country became their final resting place. Old David's list of examples kept coming. The long slog to the Eiger Glacier in Switzerland, trudging through snow in Scandinavia, the Inca Trail in Peru. Liz would often stay behind with others to share a drink while David went off to test his limits. Different rhythms on the same trips.
Plastic flower. I won't take that.
Only 14 kilometres to go, and hopefully I won't need towing.
Ha! There's a bit.
And here it is, the cattle grid,
Oh no, it's metal.
and the Welcome to Carnarvon Gorge sign. So, is activity level in your DNA or shaped by your life? Current research says it's both.
Around here at all?
Genes can influence traits like muscle composition, lung capacity, even how your brain rewards movement. But environment matters too. How active your family was,
Carnarvon Gorge National Park.
the opportunities you had,
Anything at all under the sign.
the habits you built. I like to think I'm proof of the environmental side. My foster father just seems wired to keep moving.
Let's walk down the other side.
Me?
Hopefully not get run over.
I'm content to keep moving forward in my own way.
You got me, Trinity?
Fast, slow, or with someone pulling you along. Now I'm off to find a shady spot at the Gorge Holiday Park and let my legs recover from, well, mostly sitting in the car.
It's at the end of a walking stick.
That'll do, for now. See you in the next one, in the Carnarvon Gorge. Pre-dawn creeks, rock art at first light. Under a poncho in a Colorado whiteout, Democritus meets weather and warmth. And we ask what small acts resist erosion. I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to beautiful places. He does the plogging, I tell the stories. If the first 20 seconds look like we've plagiarised the Blair Witch Project, sorry in advance. That jittery torch on a bag strap, That's my foster father, hiking before dawn, over 10 kilometres through scrub and creek crossings, trying to reach First Nations rock art at first light with nobody else around. No witches, no wendigos, not even a bunyip or a drop bear. Just cold water and puffing breath. Before we get into the story, when was the last time you did something that felt a bit ridiculous in the moment, but quietly worth it later? We're in Carnarvon Gorge, Queensland. Sandstone walls rising like old cathedrals. A creek stitched with stepping stones, and galleries of ochre stencils that speak across thousands of years. You'll see the litter pickup tucked into the walk. A few corners of plastic wedged in roots. An old rubber band left under tea tree shade. He's the one bending and bagging. I'm not behind the camera this time, because I'm on Team Sedentary. After that Team Sedentary episode, I made a decision. I'm not going to do every extreme thing my foster father wants to do for the sake of filming. This morning is a perfect example. He crossed streams in the dark to get here, and will end up walking close to 30 kilometres by the time he's done. I can't and won't spend every spare cent or all my energy chasing his extreme missions. Some trips I'll miss. He'll have to shoulder the filming for the energetic bits. I've brought Mum's diaries with me again to read in camp. The one open on my lap today is from 1993, the year she and her lifelong friend David travelled through the States. I found her journals in her room after she died, the pages freckled with old airport tags and a Polaroid of her grinning knee-deep in snow. Lately, old David has been adding detail where the pages go thin. He doesn't shut down now, unless I really push. 2 memory postcards before the mountain. At LAX, she wrote about drawing boundaries with a stranger who wanted a little too much friendliness on a long layover. In Denver, she marvelled at her first snow.
Let's see if there is any rubbish around here.
Like sifted sugar on a stair railing. Quiet foreshadowing
A gathering place.
for what came next. Ptarmigan Mountain, Silverthorne, Colorado. A storm shouldered in faster than expected. Visibility vanished. Instead of gambling on a featureless white, they stopped on the mountainside. They crawled in under David's scratched green army poncho and waited it out, shoulder to shoulder, breath steaming the nylon. Wind blew words out of my mouth, Mum wrote. So I read instead, by torch halo,
Can't see any rubbish.
a page,
That's pretty good.
and then another, to make the time hold still.
Litre almond milk. How many Ks we done? 11.34. Makes sense that the first little litre would be mine. And I'll pick up the rest. On the way back I saw a couple of pieces, not much though.
She was reading her little philosophy book again. In Norwegian, translated into English for David.
The second bit, if I can get it, it's right here. I gotta get back. Gotcha, you little shit. Here's another bit.
Democritus this time. Atoms and the void. Everything made of small, indivisible things. Dancing in empty space. Old David told me that he tried to listen. He really did. But the torch lit her face and the wind pressed them closer. And he kept clearing snow with his right hand to keep the air hole open. And there was this other weather inside him he didn't trust yet. He said he'd realized under that poncho that he was dangerously attracted to her. Not just the kind of admiration you have for a sharp mind and a brave set of choices, but the kind that refuses to be boxed up again. It was complicated. Claire, his ex-fiancée, had walked out in Hawaii after seeing Mum arrive. You might remember the story from a previous episode. He was still raw from that. Part of him wanted to swear off women entirely and focus on the journey. Part of him wanted to stay exactly where he was, counting the seconds between gusts, and the warmth of her leg against his. Mum wrote, "He kept saying, 'We wait till we can see the town again, then we go.' He was calm in a way that didn't feel like pretending."
It doesn't grow here, it doesn't belong here.
Back in Carnarvon, the track tilts into the creek again. Mud cool underfoot, cycads holding their green-like secrets. My foster father moves quietly near the rock art. These places are old, and he is just a visitor. The camera stays respectful. Hands and symbols, ochres like breathed earth. If you've watched our Box Flat Memorial episode, you'll know what I mean about respect.
The art gallery's in there.
Places aren't bins, and memory isn't disposable. Old David told me something else that I didn't know. He has taken deliberate breaks from dating across his life. He stopped to train for his black belt. He stopped during travel adventures with Mum intermittently over many years, choosing competence and clarity over complication. And he stopped for what he calls his monastic period. 3 years in his late 20s when he studied his way into university. "Sometimes you have to withdraw to move," he said, looking off in the distance as we FaceTimed. He said it like it wasn't advice, just a memory. We talk a lot, old David and I, about what fills a life. He has studied psychology and sociology. I'm still deciding what to do with mine. What about you? Have you found what you want to do with your life? How do you find your meaning?
And unfortunately, yeah, you're right, it's getting worse.
Self-determination theory says humans need autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Oddly, plogging ticks all three. You choose to be here. That's autonomy. You get visibly better at noticing and clearing. That's competence. And you're linked to people who walked before you and to whoever comes next. That's relatedness.
So we've been going 6.5 hours, 23.3 kilometres. And all we've picked up is that, well, obviously that carton is mine. So not too bad for over 20 kilometres. I'm calling this an oasis.
It's hunting and gathering with rubbish bags. Not grand, not algorithmic,
Hey, Gum.
but grounding.
I filmed myself picking up rubbish to encourage other people to do it. And I was just filming, just walked 23 Ks, and that's all I got. So this is pretty clean.
Attention is the scarce thing. Not oil, not data. Attention. Most of it gets siphoned into tiny rectangles lighting our faces at night. Imagine if we redirected even a slice of that toward repair. The way this gorge self-heals once the pressure of boots and hands eases. The way a place changes when the first hand reaches for the first dropped plastic straw. We reward the wrong behaviours publicly, and then wonder why the planet wears the bruises. Carnarvon has this way of making the modern feel brief. Stand in the hush near a wall of hand stencils, and your personal drama shrinks to size. At least that's what my foster father tells me. When Mum translated Democritus by torchlight, she was doing what humans have always done, using small ideas to outlast big weather. Picking up a few scraps on the way to the ancient art gallery is something equally small and stubborn. Both resist erosion. As the gorge brightens, I can admit something I don't always say aloud. I'm tired of pretending I love every part of this. The early alarms, the cold, the wet feet, that's my foster father's stuff. I want to keep telling these stories. I don't want to burn out trying to match someone else's stamina or willingness to stay poor. So I won't. My foster father can take the long, dark approaches when he needs to. I'll meet him where the light hits the cliff and the microphones behave. He thinks, he hopes. He got every piece of litter along nearly 30 kilometres today, 8 hours of picking and walking and filming. He also knows he can't keep coming back to keep it so. That's why, at the end of each episode, you'll hear this gentle ask from me. If you come to the places we show you, please pick up a few pieces. Help stop them retrashifying. In the pinned comment, there's a link to a map of my foster father's route. For you, if you are keen to keep this place litter-free. We'll leave Carnarvon as we found it, minus a partly filled bag of somebody else's decisions. Thanks for walking with us. Keep this place clean if you pass this way, and let the old walls keep speaking. That'll do. From cathedrals of sandstone to paperbark pillars, Karawatha. Here, alloparent finds its name. Families built from care. Pillars built from turning up.
You got me, Trinity?
I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I visit beautiful places. He does the plogging and I tell the stories. Today, we're in Karawatha Forest, on Brisbane's bush edge, where paperbarks pull the light and the paths thread between sandstone and seasonal lagoons.
Now that Trinity's got creative control of this channel, doing all the narrating and the editing, there's one thing that I still have some control over, and that's where we pick up litter. So let's go in here to somewhere that's an oasis, somewhere that I can keep clean.
Before we get moving, a small question. When did you last feel quietly useful?
Oh, look, snakes.
Like you were doing something small that still mattered? Karawatha is that kind of place. You'll see my foster father up ahead, tongs clicking, plogging bag crinkling with empty packets.
Good morning. How are you? I'm keeping your place clean, huh? You're beautiful. There's people coming. They're going to scare you off.
This forest carries deep time. The care of traditional owners, the scars of a quarry, the long, patient work of people who fought to have it protected.
Good morning, Kookaburra. How are you? How are you doing, Cookie Monster? You're about to do a big poo, aren't you?
And now it carries us, one slow meter at a time, taking away what doesn't belong. It's ordinary and sacred at once. Frog calls after rain, eucalypt oil in the sun, and, yes, the occasional bread tag that somehow walked itself kilometres from a kitchen bench.
Glass, we'll leave that. We're going to focus on plastics, because it's plastics that are going to get inside people and cause things like early onset cancers in young people. I'm pretty sure of that.
This episode is about alloparenting, about how families can be made from care rather than DNA. My foster father often uses that word, alloparent. It means a non-biological caregiver who still does the parenting, school runs, late night fevers, explaining fractions, showing up.
This is the sort of place people would have picnics. So I reckon there's going to be, oh, look, a shoe.
He says being an alloparent is one of the pillars of his self-esteem.
There's going to be plastic in that shoe for sure, isn't there? It's going to take up a whole heap of space in my bag, even though I'm focusing on small plastics, anything in there.
He chose not to become a biological parent. His own parents were too busy with their addictions to really parent. And he worried that without good role models, he'd repeat those patterns. When he met my foster mother and her almost 1-year-old child over 2 decades ago, he thought, maybe step-parenting is safer for the child. If I'm bad at this, they can step away without the complications of a biological tie. He told me that and then laughed. Because what actually happened was the opposite. He learned, he read, he asked for help, he stuck around.
Now that is aluminium. I probably shouldn't worry about that either, because it's just metal. It's just going to go to the rock cycle, isn't it? Now I wonder, like with plastics, they're going to open the rock cycle as well, aren't they? So eventually they're actually going to just become a geological layer. So in the very, very long run, they're not going to matter. But what matters is how they're affecting human beings now, right at this time, how they're affecting us, particularly young people who are ending up with the plastics in their system. And in Australia, young people are ending up with cancers that usually are seen in old people, but they're getting them like by their 30s. And obviously, you know, diet and exercise has something to do with that. But I really wonder whether these plastics getting into the ecosystem and in our drinking water and things like that, got to be making some distance, don't you think?
A psychologist would say his openness to experience is high. Curious, willing to try, willing to revise. Openness doesn't make someone a good parent by itself, but it does make you more likely to update your mental map when the road bends. Over time, the alloparent label felt right to him.
I'm not going to jump that.
Short, honest, inclusive.
With Trinity being the boss of Plog nowadays, I've asked her one thing, that she makes a request in each of these videos that you come to places like this and help keep them clean after we've left. Please?
He prefers it to toggling between foster father and stepfather. I use all three depending on the sentence. But when he says alloparent, there's a softness in it, like someone who found a word for a room he already lived in. If you've watched our recent episodes, you've seen tiny pieces of how we got here.
Toilet paper. I'm not collecting toilet paper anymore. If you want to collect toilet paper, you can, but we're focusing on plastics. Toilet paper isn't our thing anymore.
At Carnarvon Gorge, our warm blizzard episode, he hiked in before dawn to reach First Nations rock art at first light, chasing a feeling of reverence in a place that needed gentleness. At the Box Flat Memorial, we asked people to treat a sacred site with reverence by packing out what they brought in. And on the road between Roma and the gorge, I tried my first true road trip narration.
See my footprint.
Discovering that I can tell two stories at once, the country we're travelling through and the people we're becoming inside it.
Do you think they'll do it, Trinity? I hope so.
Here at Karawatha, the path tilts past an old quarry cut that now mirrors the sky. Protection didn't happen by accident. Local people organised for years to keep this forest from becoming just another subdivision. My foster father says there's a pattern he admires. Ordinary people plus steady pressure equals a future someone else gets to live in. Picking up a handful of plastic is a smaller version of that, and honestly, it suits him.
So, the scene was taken off that cliff over there. So it's a scene of a car going over the cliff into the water, and then the boy and a man escape from the car, and they come out onto this bit here.
He doesn't want to be big or make big gestures. Not anymore. After my sibling and I finished high school, the two of us are almost the same age, he knew he had to find another pillar for his self-esteem. If your worth has been tied to raising children, what happens to your perceived worth when they become adults, when they are more your peers than dependents? He told me he went bush for a week to think about it. Long-time viewers have watched him go bush many times to enjoy hours of internal dialogue. That time, he took a mountain bike along a rough track behind mountains, found a creek crossing, and met a couple coming the other way in a four-wheel drive.
I'm not going to run up here. I did deadlifts yesterday. I'm struggling with running a little bit.
They raised cattle, they said, to fund saving koalas. Had he ever thought about philanthropy? They asked.
Oh, a can. A can's not plastic, but it is 10 cents towards advertising videos like this.
That made sense. He didn't know what his version would be, only that the idea stuck. It took years to form a solid shape. Many going bush thinking trips across Australia, New Zealand and Africa. And then it did. Help the custodians of beautiful places by removing the things that don't belong. Thousands of tiny, slow-release poison packets we call plastic litter.
There we go. That's the cliff over there.
Instead of donate and forget, he chose turn up and clean. While he plogs, I'm reading the 1993 diaries again. My mum's handwriting in blue pen, a bus ticket pressed flat like a leaf.
I'm tracking this using the watch, and I'll put it up so that you can find the same spot and you can help keep this place clean.
In May of that year, she and her old childhood friend David,
Hey, little minor bird.
yes, the same David who is now old David,
I won't go in there, it's illegal.
whom I speak with regularly, reached Niagara Falls. Liz, my mum, wrote, 17th of May, 1993, Niagara Falls, on the US side. Maid of the Mist made a joke of us.
What are you? You are plastic. You're our target audience, plastic.
Plastic ponchos, shoes squeaking, hair full of freshwater thunder. David grinned like he was 8. We walked across the Rainbow Bridge with pockets of US coins and 2 passports that said we existed. The border guard stamped us like we were ideas that might wash off.
Plastic bottle lid.
Horseshoe Falls stood in the mist as if the planet had left a tap on. I kept thinking of my little philosophy book. That question again. What is the most important thing in life? Maybe today it is, don't drop your camera. Or maybe it is, to keep walking toward wonder. They turned right on the Canadian side and followed the river towards the bus that would take them to Toronto. In the margin, she drew a tiny fern and a question mark. 17th of May, 1993, later, on the bus to Toronto. My feet hurt. David doesn't seem to notice. The bus smells of warm vinyl and strangers. I nudge David and say, "Do you feel us changing?" He says yes, then stares at the horizon like he often does. I think of Eric and Norwegian sentences that feel like pebbles in my mouth, and of how easy it is to become someone else's weather. Sun when they want sun, rain when they need rain. I am not good at that.
There's rubbish in there.
Perhaps I never will be. But weather changes. I think of scorpions and the wind of change in this crazy world.
Unstable cliffs, falling rocks, keep clear. It doesn't say the fine. No diving, no being an idiot. Doesn't actually say keep out anymore. Maybe it's okay to go in there now.
That line about being someone else's weather follows me around.
My pants are falling down.
It haunted our Mugera Dam episode 2, where I talked about how meaning can fray when life gets too easy, and how we might need tasks that bite back a little.
There we go.
My foster father sometimes says that if our lives become uncomfortably comfortable, if we no longer have challenges imposed by day-to-day living, we'll need to choose to build our lives around care, raising children, rescuing wildlife, restoring places. A life without effort tastes empty.
Still not much in there though.
He wonders if, freed from necessity,
Considering I've walked for about 6 Ks.
more people will choose to alloparent, to be the neighbour who shows up, the auntie who teaches a kid to read, the mentor who sits on the sidelines in the rain. I'm not sure yet, but Karawatha, kept bush by volunteers and stubborn love, makes the argument better than I can. There's theory in the background of what we do. Self-determination theory says humans thrive on competence, autonomy, and relatedness. Plogging is tiny competence. You can see the ground go from messy to clean. It's autonomous. Nobody makes you. You choose. And it's relational. To the place. To the people who'll walk here later. And to those who walked here before. Even personality research sneaks in. High openness. Got my foster father experimenting with a life that wasn't modelled for him. Conscientiousness got him up before dawn with a bag and a plan. And agreeableness, well, that one he's still working on when someone litters next to the bin.
So, we'll be going up the mountain when she comes. Toilet paper over there. Leaving that alone. We don't want anything to do with toilet paper. Is that... What are you? More toilet paper?
One more thing I need to say out loud every few episodes. I can't appear on camera or use my real voice. I'm protecting my privacy and safety.
Let's jog. We'll be jogging down the mountain when she comes. Jogging down the mountain when she comes. I might turn this off, actually.
And if I'm honest, I'm still unpicking some patterns I inherited from my mother.
Whoa! No, I won't do that.
About choosing the wrong men. Some days I think anonymity is just training wheels. Other days, it's armor. Either way, it keeps the focus on the story, where it belongs. Karawatha tightens and opens as we walk. Heathland to woodland, to the bright scratch of the quarry face where rock once left and water now gathers. Places heal when we stop wounding them. People, too. My foster father says he didn't know what kind of man he'd become when he first picked up someone else's rubbish.
On the ground for rubbish, Trinity. I haven't seen any, though. I don't think it will be. Just toilet paper.
He just knew he could become a man who did that again.
Just people leaving their toilet paper.
Tomorrow,
Let's look at this.
we'll end where we always do, with something simple. If you visit Karawatha, or any of the places in our
Walk
episodes,
for a bit.
please help keep it clean. There's an interactive map pinned in the top comment that shows exactly where we walked today. If you plog a stretch of it, leave a note in the comments so the next person knows where to start. Small acts, shared widely. That's how ordinary people make futures.
Okay, is this like a standoff or something, is it? I need to get through. So what's happening? Hey? What's happening? How are we going to do this thing? How are we going to do this thing? Huh? So what are we going to do? We're going to have a look at this? Come and have a look. What are you doing? That's my Plog bag. See that? That's my Plog bag. You are the most beautiful bird. Yes.
That'll do. No, it won't. A final note for Crystal, because I know you'll still be listening. Knowing these videos matter so much to you helps build my pillars of self-esteem, one strong one called being a good friend. Now, that'll do. One more climb. White rock glows. And the chapter settles. We ask what the later years are for, service to self or service to people and places. I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. My foster father and I travel to beautiful places. He does the plogging and I tell the stories. Today we're at White Rock Conservation Estate in Ipswich. Sandstone glowing pale against eucalypts. A track that climbs steadily towards the ridge. This is the final episode of Chapter 2. I'll circle back to why that matters a little later. Quick question before we set off. When you picture old age, do you imagine leaning in towards others or taking time for yourself? White rock is quiet at first light. Paper barks catch the sun. Resin on an iron bark smells faintly sweet. My foster father walks ahead, racing the dawn to reach the top and gather good footage for me to edit. He'll come back down to pick up litter later, and he'll stumble across an uncomfortable surprise. A sign that wasn't here on his last visit. Back home, I'm still sorting my mother's diaries. I found them boxed with photos after she died. Old exercise books, ticket stubs taped in, corners smudged with sunscreen in years. I scan pages, add sticky notes, and read aloud to friends who can bear the long story. This week, I'm in 1993. Mum and her childhood friend David are halfway through the United States. The pages smell faintly of damp paper and insect repellent. Liz wrote in her diary, New Orleans, 10th of May, 1993.
I'm going to get those on the way down.
The French Quarter looks like a cross between a European town and one from South America. Muddy river, t-shirt shops, bars that might fall down. A paddle steamer's horn shook the dock. She continued. Tried to sleep in the airport last night. Jazz tracks cycled too loudly over the PA. Cleaners drifted like ghosts. Security pretended not to look. I copied a lyric from a blues song that floated across the room. How come my dog don't bark when you come around? And the whole scene felt like a set. Everyone waiting for their cue. And then went into a voodoo shop. No photos allowed. Small altars, candles, things asking to be left alone. I touched one by accident, wiped my fingers on David's sleeve. The curse is on you now. We laughed. They checked their packs at Greyhound. The bags were sent ahead. David phoned home to his mum and to check on Arnold, the dog from our Bribey Island episode. The one where Liz and David found each other again. Everything was fine. Then the road bent towards Vicksburg and its earthworks, trenches and cannon and the long echo of a civil war. Before New Orleans, there'd been the Grand Canyon and the desert, Flagstaff to Kingman, cheap motels and long waits. Liz wrote, Kingman, 5th of May, 1993. Met an American Indian man in Kmart, surname Redfeather. Talked about work in the heat. Old David told me later. At 25, the only Indigenous stories I'd heard were Maori tales told by my father, picked up as he rode a motorcycle around New Zealand after finding his girlfriend in bed with his best friend. That's a whole other story. Redfeather spoke about family, about staying, leaving, returning. Nothing profound in the words, but it was the first time I realised I'd been looking at people instead of listening to them. He added, that was the start of empathy for me, not because I understood, but because I knew I didn't. And that my job from then on was to listen and try to understand. We're back on the ridge now. Wind brushes the leaves, the track crunches underfoot. The sun is climbing, warming the sandstone and colouring it orange. It's still quiet. The fun run crowds haven't arrived yet.
Let's go pick up some rubbish.
Last week at Karawatha, I talked about alloparenting, how that word fits our lives more honestly than step or foster, how care runs across bloodlines. This week, I've been thinking about grandparenting. Not everybody gets to be a grandparent. Not everybody wants to be one. And for many families, for-profit childcare is the only workable option.
There's a bit. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Mentos. Always Mentos. Never ever have a trip without Mentos.
But I think something else may have shifted too. As a culture, we market retirement like a long-deserved exhale centred on the self. Ease as the horizon. Comfort is the story. I'm genuinely curious whether that story makes people well.
So I just went up there here. Oh dear. This wasn't here before. Come, look at this. This is a new sign. I've never seen this before. I went up there. I went around that way. You'll see it later. I went around that way. I did not see this sign. I'm not supposed to go up there. Don't go up there. Don't go up there. Now that I know, don't go up there. Oh, crap. There's the water bottles. Those water bottles, let's not call this climbing, all right? This is no climbing. I'm not going to climb anymore, promise. But I'm going to get those water bottles I got before. It's not too far. This isn't climbing. It's not climbing. Promise. Bit of plastic. Still not climbing. This is walking. This is going up steps. This is the water bottle I got before. Still not climbing. That was climbing, but I didn't know. That was climbing. This is not climbing. That was almost falling. And the cafe. I'm still stepping. See, I'm not climbing. Not climbing.
I've been reading about development across a lifetime because Mum's diaries keep sending me to books. In psychology, egocentrism is a childhood thing. a stage where we can't yet take another person's perspective.
Let's see if there's any rubbish up here. I'm not going to climb.
Most of us grow out of it as we head into our teens.
That's the way I went before. I could not have seen the sign. Mr. City Council, sorry.
Later in life, another model says the task is generativity, caring for what comes next. Children, yes, but also community, art, trees, rivers.
This reminds me of Carnarvon Gorge.
And then, if we're lucky, a kind of integrity where we look back and feel the thread. I don't want this to sound like a lecture. I'm still learning. I'm only wondering aloud, what happens if the final chapters are written as a return to the first stage, a narrowing back into I and me? And if that's the trend, is it the advertising's fault, the economy's, or just the way modern life funnels us inward?
Pretty good.
We walk among trees. A warm breeze comes up the slope, and a hawk-like bird circles once and drifts away. My foster father ignores the toilet paper snagged in the scrub. He refuses to pick up other people's crap anymore. At least not actual crap. We'll stick to the little plastic crap that often wraps crap food. We'll clean up the waste from what goes in, not what comes out.
Oh, here we go. I've said it before. This is Plog Vlog, not Plog Bog. I'm not picking up someone else's shit. No way. We're just not doing that anymore.
Mum used to mark days like this with tiny lines in the margin. Cool wind, good view. We laughed at nothing. When she read her tattered philosophy book, she copied out the big questions asked by big people long ago. Sometimes I imagine her asking those from the top of a lookout, not a library.
Little white rock, huh?
It changes the tone. You get a little braver about answering.
Someone's had a fire there.
I doubt those questions matter to a bird of prey eating a lizard. But they matter to me. I can't appear on camera or use my real voice. That's partly about safety. Partly about keeping the focus where it belongs. It also lets me place the story on the places and the people I love. Mum, old David, my alloparents with the tongs and bags, so that I don't turn into the centre of it. I'm trying to write an autobiography that isn't egocentric, to be a side character in a world that needs care. We edge across more sandstone, past the cold coals of a makeshift campfire. Sand grains grind under our soles. On this kind of ground, thinking about grandparenting feels less like policy and more like practice. Whose day did you make easier? Whose future did you nudge forward? Which creek will run a little clearer because you were gentle with it? As paid work becomes less central with age, maybe purpose should drift back to care, to relationships, to the patient repair of places. Maybe some grandparents and many non-grandparents could find meaning the old way, through service. Service to their descendants rather than service to the market.
Trinity roused on me the other day after the Carnarvon Gorge one because I didn't take enough B-roll. She didn't have enough footage to cover her narration. So I'm just going to take tons and tons of footage nowadays so that I don't get in trouble.
At the start, I mentioned this being the end of Plog Vlog's second chapter.
Oh, guess what? It says no climbing.
Chapter 1 ended at a logical point in Mum's life. I thought Chapter 2 would end when Mum and David, her childhood friend, finished their meandering crossing of the USA in 1993. But I kept finding ideas I had to chase, detours that led somewhere true. So here we are at episode 10, and they're only halfway through America. The stories are bigger than I expected.
Which way?
Mum's story.
I think I better head back. We can do it that way another time.
And my story. I've decided to base Plog Vlog chapters around practicality rather than chapters in Mum's biography. I'm keeping chapters to 10 episodes, so the compilations and recaps don't become unwieldy.
Car park's this way.
There's so much ahead. UK, Europe, Turkey, Southern Africa, and that's just their first trip together. There were many more after that. So, Chapter 2's compilation and recap episodes will be coming out soon.
So, 2 hours in, it's only been 5Ks, and that's what we got. And I just got this one.
I'm also looking forward to experimenting in Chapter 3, trying different filming rhythms, playing with edits, letting background sounds live a little more in the foreground. Let's see if the story can hold it. We start down. The bag is a little fuller. The track sounds a little cleaner underfoot. If this place moved you, even a little, there's an interactive map in the pinned comment. One day, come to this place. Bring a small bag. Pick up a few pieces. Help keep White Rock an oasis. New Orleans fades like brass on the wind. Kingman sits in the heat. White Rock glows in the morning light. Different eras, same question. If we don't want our last chapters to fold back into ourselves, where could we offer service? To people, places, and the quiet future pressing forward. That'll do.
I'm trying really hard to remember to record the tracks that we do so that you can come back and help keep this place clean. I'm going to put links in the comments below. There'll be a pinned comment. So what I'm going to do to help me remember is record when I start the recording on this, and all I do is record when I turn it off. There you go. And I shall save it. Done. Here we record really soon.
That's Chapter 2. 10 episodes. 1 thread. Small inconvenient hope. If you visit any of these places, take a bag and leave it even a little cleaner than we found it. See you in Chapter 3. It starts with a yellow ride.